But before I tell you about how I'm a full-blown medium now, first I need to tell you about the time I was stuck in a love triangle. Well, come back! Ow! That really hurt my foot very badly. The show must go on. The Gabby show must go on. I have not actually sat down and filmed a YouTube video by myself in so long. It feels so unnatural. It literally feels like I'm sitting down to film my very first YouTube video ever. I have not done a story time in almost a year, and the last time I did one was about trying to cancel a gym membership. The content you signed up for. I don't really do them anymore because I feel like story time was such a trend and the trend is dead, and I don't want to be the YouTuber that can't move on and evolve, but also I'm cleaning my carpet for content now, so who am I to pretend like I'm being picky with my content? But you guys have been asking me for a story time for so long. And I asked you guys on Instagram if you wanted to see a story time, particularly this story time, and 96% of you said you wanted to see this. So y'all better not let this video flop. So today is a good old-fashioned talking head YouTube video, and this one's actually 2 stories in one about things that you guys really like hearing about on my channel, which is 1, me being psychic as f, and 2, my dating life. This story time's also gonna give you some insight into butterflies, download and stream to a mirror, because you guys probably thought that butterflies was about 1 guy, but surprise, it was actually about 2 guys that I was dating at the same time. Speaking of butterflies, download and stream to a mirror, the day after I got the first bounce back of that song, there was a butterfly migration in Los Angeles. There were butterflies literally everywhere. People were talking about butterflies nonstop. Everywhere you looked and walked, there were butterflies, but whatever. So let's get into the story, and here's the thing. I'm not just psychic anymore. I am a full-blown medium. Like, tell you your past, present, and future medium. Okay, so let's go back. I had just had 2 back-to-back really messy breakups, and I decided that I was going to be single for a while. Said I wouldn't date for a while. I had taken a year off dating before, and it was the best year of my life. I was so productive. I got so much done. I had a lot of breakthroughs in therapy. I got in better shape. I was pushing forward in my career. It was all around glow up season, so I was like, F these boys, men ain't shit. So back in October, there were 2 guys who started showing interest in me at the same time. I wasn't interested in either one of them. I wasn't interested in dating, period. Said I wouldn't date for a while. So one I had been friends with for a year, and he had just gotten out of a serious relationship, and I was not trying to be his rebound. We'll call him Mike Tyson. The other one was the guy that you met in my video about going to different drive-thrus and restaurants with my ex. Him and I actually hadn't met in person yet, but we were talking online and messaging every single day. We'll call him Eminem. What a love triangle. Actually, sorry, love triangle just triggered this. So during this whole situation, my friends kept calling me Bella. So I changed my mind. It's no longer Eminem and Mike Tyson. I was Bella, and I was dating Jacob and Edward. So it's October, I am sworn to the single life, but I mean, I have 2 really cool, good looking guys trying to flirt and holla, so you know, I'm trying to live this single life, but also still I couldn't help but flirt. So from about October to December, things are pretty flirty between me and Jacob, and also me and Edward, but I'm not really actively hanging out with either one of them. I would hang out with Jacob in a group setting, or if we were casually doing the same thing together, but I was definitely dodging any advances, like, and I was really putting off meeting Edward because I knew that there was a really strong connection there, and I was trying to be single, damn it! But for some reason, in pretty much the same week in December, both guys went full force into pursuing me, probably because it was the holidays, we were all off work, it's cuffing season, people are trying to get booed up. I was in the middle of a massive scandal and needed a distraction. What if I'm the monster? So basically, I'm talking to 2 different guys who I do feel a genuine connection with, but also, first of all, they both got really butthurt about it, and I'm gonna defend myself real quick, because when they both found out, because I told them, they were so about it. They were like, damn, I didn't know you were a player like that. I thought you were a 1 guy type of girl. And I'm like, I don't even know you, the f. We're grown-ups, and that's what dating is. If I'm casually seeing you for a couple weeks and we're not exclusive, like, you're a fucking stranger at this point. We've never talked about relationships or the future or exclusivity. I'm just an adult exploring my options with strangers. I'm just getting to know people, and you know damn well that You know damn well that if I started acting with either one of these boys like we were exclusive at that time, they would be like, look at this clingy bitch, we got a stage 5 over here. Abort, abort, abort. And you know what? That these guys have talked to multiple women at the same time. You know that if they had 2 girls on the line and they were exploring their options, nobody would bat a lash. But anyways, life happens and Jacob and I broke his heart. His words, not mine. I'm not a heartbreaker at all, but I did break his heart. So anyway, he goes back home, he lives out of state, and I started dating Edward a little more exclusively. He wasn't my boyfriend yet, but I wasn't looking for a love square. It was so complicated, honestly, so exhausting. I was ready to just chill. Yo, that shit really was exhausting. So to recap, I was dating Jacob and Edward at the same time. Jacob went back home and I'm in LA with Edward, who I am more exclusively seeing now. So now that we got the backstory of my love triangle out of the way, this is where shit gets bonkers. Edward was over, we were laying right there on the floor and I was falling asleep, and I found that this is really the only time that I can do this, is that really weird space between awake and asleep. It's like your brain is shutting down and entering dream realm, but your body is still responsive. So I was laying on the floor falling asleep and there was a show on TV, but I wasn't facing the TV. I had my back turned and my eyes were closed. All of a sudden I was seeing the show as if it was being projected onto the back of my eyelids, as if it was literally being projected into my brain from a movie projector, and my eyes were the movie screen. I started describing the scene perfectly to Edward without looking at the TV. I'd never seen the show. To this day, I actually have no idea what the show was, what we were watching, because it was just on. But he said, have you seen this? And I said, no. Like I said, I still to this day don't know what the show was, but I kept asking him, is this what's happening? Is this what this looks like? And he was like, yes. Weird. So I start to fall asleep a little bit more and I feel myself, like, forgive me for sounding like an actual lunatic, time travel? It's like I was sucked into this warp where everything around me was a blur. And all of a sudden I was standing in my childhood yard. I wasn't imagining it. I was there, bitch. I felt it. So I said out loud in my weird sleep awake state, I'm time traveling. And I heard him answer me. So this is something that has never happened before. I always see weird shit as I'm falling asleep. Colors, patterns, very strange images, things going in and out of each other. I feel really weird feelings, but I've never explored what I was seeing or had anybody else witness it. So now, because he responded, even though I don't even feel like I'm in the same dimension anymore, I can recognize that I'm still very much attached to reality. So it was basically like I was dreaming and asleep, but still awake and able to converse. So I tell him I'm in my childhood yard, but as soon as I say it, my brain said, and I was somewhere else. I saw Edward standing with another man, and out of my control, my mouth said, "You're with your childhood best friend." And he immediately was like, "What? Say that again?" And I said, "You're with your childhood best friend." And he said, "How did you know that? Did I tell you that?" And I said, "Tell you what?" And he said, "My best friend from China, I haven't seen him in 16 years since I left China, is coming here tomorrow, and I'm seeing him for the first time in 16 years. Mind you, I've never seen this man, heard of this man. I don't know what he looks like at all, but my brain just knew that that was his childhood best friend that I was envisioning, and forced my mouth to say, "You are with your childhood best friend." But as soon as he responded, my brain said, this time I said, "I'm in a boxing gym." And he said, "Are you working out?" And I said, "No, I'm not there, I just see it." And I said, "The boxing instructor is there with a rapper, but he's not there to train him or help him work out, he's helping him with his music." And I said, "Babe, why would a rapper go to a boxer to help him with his music?" And he said, "Did I tell you that? I've never told you that. I haven't even thought about that in years." And he said, "I used to train at a boxing gym to help me with my breathing." He's a rapper.
We at Yogurt Land. Gonna stick my toe in sand and take you to the chosen land.
But I don't think that this is a universal thing that rappers do. I think this is a pretty specifically him and maybe a couple of his friends do. Let me know in the comments, but I've never heard that in my life. So at this point, he's getting really freaked out because I've already done really psychic to him in the past that made him be like, "Ew, you're weird." But this was crossing a line into next level, get the f out of my brain type shit. So then my brain went again, and now we're in a house that's under this big dome bubble barrier. So I said out loud, "Babe, we're in a house. It's our house." And he said, "Are we happy?" And I said, no. I was at the kitchen counter and I was trying really hard to do something and I don't know what it was, but I could tell from it that I was trying over and over and over and failing and getting very frustrated and upset, and I kept trying, failing, getting angry, hurt, sad, frustrated, and I just see myself hunched over and tense, trying, doing my best, failing, but not giving up. So then he gets frustrated and he walks away. He leaves the house and he goes out into the yard. He was still under this dome and I could see both of us. I could see myself inside and I could see himself outside. But I got this feeling of emotional disconnect. Like he left. He walked away, but he was still on my property. He was still in the yard. He didn't leave the house. He just put this barrier between us. There was this wall. He was here, but he was gone. So I'm trying to explain this to him, and in real life, Edward is like trying to get more details about what was going on in the vision because it was stressing him out, but then my brain said, and I was in the next scene. I was in total blackness, but there was a glowing white ring like this, and inside of it was the torso up of Edward in all white. So he was here in the circle, and there was a figure that went like this. So it was outside of the circle, it came in the circle, stopped at Edward, and then quickly vanished. And then my brain made my mouth say, did you like him? And he said, did I like who? And I said, I don't know, because at the time I didn't. But before I could think too long, my brain said, whoosh. So now I'm in a metal room. I turn around and Jacob is behind me. But the second I make eye contact with him, he dies on impact. Literally drops dead. Then my brain zooms in on his toe tag and it has Jacob's name on it, and then I realized that this metal room that I was in was a morgue and he was now laying on a morgue tray. So I said out loud, my friend just died. Obviously I said my friend and not my ex-lover that I was dating at the same time as you that really hurt you both. He asked me what happened, but then before I could answer, my brain said, then I saw a bunch of other shit that was some of the coolest shit to this day that I've ever experienced in my entire life, but isn't really relevant to this story. And hey, if you want to hear it, let me know in the comments. I don't know how this video is gonna be, if people are gonna enjoy it, but give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see my other cosmic, weird, universal experience and insane visions. But then I started seeing like dead babies and dismembered body parts on a conveyor belt, and I was explaining it all in vivid detail and was starting to get scared because I was trapped in my brain. And then he got really freaked out and was like, wake up, babe! And I was like, okay! So we go to bed, we wake up, and I have a missed FaceTime call from Jacob. Now, Jacob and I were still friendly because like I said, him and I had been friends for a year before we had our little fling. He knew about Edward, but I don't think he knew we were as serious as we were-ish, because I wasn't about to just kind of rub it in his face about like, yeah, we're doing really great, but he definitely knew that I was still actively seeing Edward. So I call him back and he immediately was like, yo, baby girl, what's the address to your party tonight? Let me rewind. So this was my birthday party back in February. I had had this party planned for a while and I invited him back in January when we were dating. But we had talked so many times after we had like broken up or whatever you want to call it, and he had already gone back to his home state and he wasn't gonna visit again because the season was starting. So we had talked multiple times, and multiple times he told me I'm not going to make it to the party. Like for sure was solidified, he is not coming to the party. So I invited Edward, not thinking that I'd be in a situation where they both were going to be in the same room with all of my friends who had been hearing about this story of the love triangle for weeks, trying to figure out who I was gonna end up with. So he says, what's the address to your party? And I'm like, Jacob, are you in LA? And he said, I'm on my way right now. What's the address to your party tonight? So I sent him the details to the party, and brace for impact. I'm bracing for impact. But I was very genuinely excited he was coming. He was my friend for a long time. We have a great time together. I care about him a lot still. I was super disappointed that he said he wasn't coming. So now that he was, I was hyped because he's my friend. So it's party time and Jacob shows up and I'm very clearly there with Edward. He's the one sitting next to me at dinner. He's the one that I'm introducing to my friends when they approach us. But like I said, Jacob knew I was dating Edward, but I don't think he knew I was as invested in Edward as I was at that time. Even though I told him I was, but whatever. Side note, oh my god, so many of my friends knew about the whole situation and they'd been waiting to see what happened, and they were coming up to me at the party like, which one's which? Not subtle at all, by the way. Like Edward was sitting right next to me and they're like, so which one is he? This is where all of my premonitions started to come true. So I kind of get Jacob alone at the party because, you know, he drove this whole way and then there was obviously a very awkward situation going on and I wanted to just, you know, have a minute alone with him. So we're talking and he says, why would you let me come here? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you didn't tell me you had a boyfriend. And I said, I don't have a boyfriend. I'm dating him the same way I was dating you a couple weeks ago. It's just like casual, you know? And he was like, I've been a boyfriend at a birthday party before. That's your boyfriend. Why would you let me come here? And I said, what do you mean? I invited you to this party weeks ago. You've told me you can't come for weeks. And then you call me this morning on the way to LA asking for an address. What did you want me to say? Like, we're friends. We've been friends. I'm glad you're here. I'm not about to uninvite you to a party just because I'm still talking to the same guy that you knew I was talking to. So then he said, brace yourselves. You shouldn't have let me come here. You knew it would kill me to see you together. He dies on impact, which was very sad. And then we were talking a little bit more. You know, I said, where do we go from here? And he said basically that we would fizzle out and stop talking. And I said, I don't want to lose you as a friend. My friend just died, but just so everybody knows, we're still really good friends. I still talk to him all the time, so. But there was this very brief moment where Jacob and Edward did not talk the entire party, but there was a very, very brief moment where they did cross paths and kind of had to introduce themselves to each other. So I see them shake hands, and then as soon as Edward came up to me after, it spilled out of my mouth. I said, did you like him? And then my brain made my mouth say, did you like him? And it was like, Edward's permanently in my circle for now, and then Jacob literally pops in and out. Then the house premonition. This one was a little longer term, but obviously Edward and I did end up having problems and breaking up. Download and stream Two-Way Mirror now, but it was that feeling of me trying and trying and trying and failing and failing and failing and not giving up, but feeling that frustration and sadness, and him not trying to help and walking away and not leaving. And he didn't want to leave, but now there's this big thing between us, but we're still together, but there's this distance and separation. It was just that exact feeling that I was feeling in that premonition. I felt the same way in real life. And that was the thing I was experiencing a lot with these premonitions, is so much of it had not as much to do with what I was visually seeing, but the feeling that I would feel in the moment is exactly how I would feel when that thing was happening. Now, as far as like the bloody body parts on the conveyor belt, I don't really know what that means, but I'm just hoping that it doesn't really come through. We're just gonna ignore that one. So ever since then, my psychic powers have been very, very strong, but overall useless. Fun example, one morning I woke up and had the urge to text Edward, did you go home without your socks last night? And he said, yeah, I needed to take out my Invisalign last night, but I didn't have my container, so I had to wrap them in my socks so that I didn't lose them or break them. Strangely specific, but oh so useless. But yeah, I can't control it at all, and I'd really like to learn how, because I think it's fair to say that I have something going on here that is like supernatural or something. Like, I remember so vividly falling asleep one night and I had this vision of paint by numbers makeup, and I'd never seen it before, and then the very next day is when that look started going viral on the internet. I've also been having these really weird experiences where when I fall asleep at night, I feel like I'm completely transported into my childhood room, and it's not like I'm seeing my room. It's as if I close my eyes and the surroundings feel exactly like I'm going to look up and I'm going to see that window and my slanted ceilings, and I'm going to see the moon where it always is, and I'm going to see the lace curtains. And I've also been having some really disturbing, vivid, yet awesome dreams. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, because they are disgusting. Anyways, this is this week's Showstopper of the Week. Thank you so much for being so supportive. I love you so much. And thank you so much to these patrons. They are in my rainbow, blonde, and yellow tiers. Special shout out to Travis Wright. He is my rainbow patron. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who are part of my Patreon, because you guys are literally making my dreams come true. And I'm so happy that you've been enjoying the content on there. I think what I'm gonna do next for, I believe, my blonde tier is I'm going to do a full commentary on my EP and tell you all of the details exactly of when this was written, what this verse means. I want to do one specifically on butterflies for which verse is for which guy. So that's something to look forward to on Patreon. Obviously, make sure to check out and download and stream Two-Way Mirror. And as always, I love you very much. Thank you for being a part of my family, and I'll see you next time.